My name is Donovan from Hail the Sun, and you're watching HeartSupport. Upon looking back on growing up, more so in my teen years, I developed, for whatever reason, a lower self-esteem, very insecure, didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. I do realize that is why I started to use drugs, and I would start just innocent stuff like drinking or smoking weed, but it did lead to harder drugs. And in high school, I was doing not so good in school, my personal life, because of that. I was hurting people that I loved, my family and loved ones and girlfriends, and it ruined a lot of relationships. I felt like I was definitely lower than, and I don't really know why. I just felt lower self-esteem, a lower self-worth than my classmates or friends, just in general. And I realized whenever I would be intoxicated, that kind of went away, and I would be bold and have the liquid courage. And it's so commercialized these days, especially that's like a tangent for college kids and stuff. I feel bad because a lot of college kids do struggle with addiction, and I do think you can drink alcohol and be a normal person. I can't. People can't. There's people out there that are normal people, and they can do it. I feel like because of that, I would kind of self-medicate. And I kept wanting to experiment. There was like not a voice. Like I would say, okay, I can try this, but I'll never try this. Sure. And then, sure enough, that would kind of run its course, and like, well, now I kind of want something new. It just kind of kept snowballing. And I had people who could get me stuff. That was another big thing. The same dosage I would take of a substance would not do the same thing to reach the same effect. And so I just kept having to do more and more. Up until towards the end of my using, I was living in cheap California for school. But school was like, took a back seat. Everything took a back seat. Everything. And my life revolved around like waking up, and then how am I gonna sustain myself throughout the day while still like wearing the Donovan suit to go to work and the Donovan suit to go to school, but just like autopilot, get the things out of the way that I have to get out of the way. I was at the point where life was only worth living if I was able to be using drugs. Yeah. And I was comfortable with that. I had accepted that. Like, I just knew I couldn't even imagine living without being able to be high. That just was a foreign concept to me by that point. That was kind of my constant mindset was, how can I just make sure that I don't get sick, and the second I start to feel depressed, take something so that I don't feel depressed. My rock bottom was not having my independence. Like once I did decide to give up, so to speak, and give everything over to the program I was working, then that felt like the beginning of, I mean, it was a bottom, but I was like, I needed that to work back up again. I lost like my car, and very, very minor things compared to what others have lost. I 100% give credit to my family for encouraging me to get help. I went off to college, and I was still actively using. On one of my winter breaks, they had this sort of intervention for me, and I was 19 at the time. They convinced me to stay home for a semester and get help. So they got me into like Narcotics Anonymous meetings, detox, rehab, and then support groups. It was all about trusting people's stories, because some of them were like 40, 50 years old, talking about they lost marriages, they lost their house, and that was so heart-wrenching to hear, because it could have been prevented, so preventable. And so in March of 2009, I used for the last time, got clean, and I had just turned 20 at that time. So I've got about 8 years, coming up on 8 years, next month, of sobriety. I would say reach out for help. That was the biggest error I made. Many times when I would try to get clean, I would try to do it all myself. It's not, and I can't stress this enough, someone in that position, it's not about not being weak. It's not about self-will. That's not it at all. You really have to differentiate that, because it would stop me from reaching out for help. There's such a stigma. There's such a stigma that drug addicts are bad people, and alcoholism is something to be embarrassed of. Like, that stigma has got to get rid, because it keeps people from reaching out for help. Can't do it alone. If I hadn't reached out for help, then I would not be where I'm at right now. And if you don't feel comfortable reaching out to like your parents or something, there's hotlines. These days you can find with a simple Google search hotlines to call, a trusted a friend, or go to a meeting and you can talk to anyone there. Like there's good people in those rooms. That's my advice for sure.